Go.
Hello and welcome to Dorks on Sports, a podcast about four dorks talking about sports. My name is Daniel. Joining me today, as always, is the author of the blog 12th Life. We got Curtis Eastwood. Curtis, how are you doing over there?
I'm doing good.
Yeah. Everything's beautiful again.
Everything's beautiful again. Last week
Yeah.
I switched to a Mediterranean diet, and on Sunday the Seahawks beat the 49ers.
Spoilers. Yeah. And we have Alana. Alana, how are you doing over there?
I am doing just swell. How about yourself?
You know, I'm here. The Seahawks won. It's a good day.
It was a good weekend.
And then, as always, we have Millie. Millie, how are you doing over there?
I am doing well, thank you.
Yeah, how's the fantasy team doing?
Not well, but well, I have 3 leagues, and one of them is a guillotine league, which I've never done before. It's really interesting. At the end of every week, a team gets completely chopped out, and all of their players go up for grabs.
Oh.
It's a new one for me this season, and in that league, I'm doing very well. I've been in the top, few every week, so that's nice. But it was not a great week for me because it was not a great week for a lot of my players, including Tyler Lockett.
Yeah, your boy Tyler Lockett. I know. He's hobbled a little bit, I think. We'll get into it. Okay. So going into Sunday, the Seahawks had dropped 2 bad games. They lost one in overtime. They just got dominated by the Minnesota Vikings. They're all over the place on defense. Offense can't find any kind of continuity. They're looking to get it all fixed. They go into Santa Clara to take on the 49ers, and they come out the gate like nothing had changed. Absolutely nothing changed. The defense is giving up all the bad yards. The offense can't find any rhythm at all. They go something like 5 3-and-outs in a row. It's looking bad for our Seattle Seahawks. But somehow the defense starts finding a rhythm. Russell Wilson eats his spinach and takes over that game and finds a way to put some points on the board. And they walk out of the San Francisco 49ers with a win under their belt to go 2-2 on the season. Millie, what are your thoughts on this game?
My thoughts might not line up with everyone else's because I'll tell you what, I'm super, super happy with what I saw. I was, especially in the second half when we started cooking on both sides. Saw some amazing plays from the defense, and that was where we were the most worried, and there was Diggs with interception.
Finally got an interception.
And I think a lot of, everyone called it a week early. He was there. Assignments looked way better. But here's my issue with that game. And I think we probably still would have won, but they lost their quarterback. San
Francisco did, yeah.
They lost their kicker.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
Robbie Gould is no joke.
No, he's not. And, Wisnowski is not the field goal kicker. And they got that penalty on the 2-point conversion. And so then they had to try the kick and they missed it, and they missed a field goal. And I want to believe, I want to be excited. I have been the one every week who said the Seahawks are going to win, but I didn't see quite enough this past week. And I'm not sure. We'll see when we get to predictions, which way I'm going to go.
Well, so that's kind of a question I think a lot of us had. I know I did, which is, the defense allowed some points right in the beginning, and then they kind of bared down. I know, Garoppolo ended up leaving the game, I don't know, halfway through, a little under. And then you got a really inexperienced, very raw Trey Lance in there. So then there was some busted coverage that got him some more points. My question was, watching it, is this defense actually improving, or is it just that there's an inexperienced quarterback who can't take advantage of all those holes in the intermediate, like a Kirk Cousins could, and a Tannehill could. Alana, what do you think?
I think a big part of it for me is the fact that they brought Ryan Neal into this game. I thought he had a fantastic game.
Agreed.
I thought he was just a stud across the board. And I think that made a big difference. And I think that to me was a sign that this coaching staff recognizes that they're not doing it right quite. This was the first game of the year that Ryan Neal had played in. And I don't think that he was an injury scratch for games 1, 2, and 3. I think he was a healthy scratch.
Right.
So that just means that they adjusted their scheme and it really fit this game. It played to the strengths of the defense because our safeties are stupid good.
Yeah.
And our corners,
Jamal had a great game.
As
did Diggs.
Yeah. And we didn't see a lot of Amadi, which is to be expected because he's been kind of up and down. But like the corners were there and they did an all right job. Sidney Jones, notwithstanding, giving up 2 touchdowns, but having some good plays otherwise. I thought he was better than Trey Flowers would have been in that scenario.
Agreed.
But like, I think the coaching staff is responding to what's in front of them. And for me, based on what happened in Minnesota and what happened at the end of the Tennessee game, that's a really good sign.
I agree. I kind of liked it. It seemed like they wanted to get Neal on the field, and they were putting in some coverages to do that. There was a little more cover 3 type stuff that I know Carol is a little more comfortable with. It looks like they're trying stuff out and seeing what's working and responding to that. I'm hopeful that the defense is improving. And listen, we were at the same point last year. Maybe the communication was a little bit better last year than it is this year, but eventually they got it figured out. It was for me, it was a good sign. I don't think it's there yet, but I'm hopeful.
You got to scheme to fit your players.
Agreed. Yes, which is like a Pete Carroll philosophy anyway.
Right.
Curtis, what did you see from the offense? We had the offense, it's kind of the opposite of how this offense is going this season, which is they could do nothing in the first half, and then they woke up in the third quarter and started putting up points. What did you see from the offense in this game?
Yeah, they stopped having Russell Wilson try and be Peyton Manning as a pocket passer. They got him moving outside with play action. They got the ground game going.
Alex Collins.
It's interesting. It's interesting what Russell Wilson is when he's got an effective ground game, when he's able to roll out, when he's able to be a threat with his legs as well as his arm. And I just think that they finally adjusted. It was clear that they were adjusting into. They were getting out of the shotgun and they got him under center and they got him rolling out. And what was really amazing to watch, I think, outside of the incredible, Obi-Wan Kenobi play he did.
Jedi mind trick play, escape some pressure, vintage Russell Wilson performance.
Bosa and throwing that dime to Swain is, I just love the way he was manipulating the defense at the line of scrimmage, like where he was going up there and he was hard counting and then he was audibling. He was you could tell like the defenders are going like, what the fuck is he doing?
Yeah.
He was in full control.
We've seen a side of Russ we hadn't really seen. And it felt like, God, if they can keep that going throughout the season, then that's really, I'm optimistic that can be, that can be the thing to kick the door down for the offense.
I think
really.
That and throwing to the damn tight ends. Our tight ends are weapons. Use them.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't have their premier tight end in the game, and
right, because he was out with COVID, right?
Yeah,
that's right.
It looks like he's probably going to come back against the Rams, but I just really, I just love Russell when he's a running threat. I don't love Russell when he's asked to be a pocket quarterback, or, and who knows, why they do that. I just think they should stop. I get it that at sometimes he's got to throw from the pocket and he's got to do that, but I just, he's just so much more dynamic when he has the defenses trying to play him as a runner and as a passer. And that's, I mean, there's so many teams out there in the league that are trying to find the Russell Wilson dual threat. So just make him a dual threat, have him be a dual threat.
Yeah.
And we're good.
The part of Peyton Manning's game I like in Russell Wilson is, finding out, reading that defense and then changing the calls in the play and getting them off balance. And
God, that was so much
we
fun
don't
to
need
watch.
him. He's not a statue. He's
No.
an athletic quarterback. And not only that, I think, he is a short quarterback. And I think when you get him on the run in these little like rollouts and bootlegs and stuff like that, he can finally see the full field.
Yeah.
And we saw this a little bit in this game where he finally started hitting some of that intermediate stuff that, is a big part of this whole like McVay Waldron sort of offense.
But in that second half, especially, I will say I did see those adjustments that you're talking about. And I remember in the first half being like, oh, Bosa's got our number. This is going to be.
They were right in our playbook.
Here come the sacks. And he became irrelevant almost in the second half. I just wasn't hearing his name at all anymore. So they definitely figured out something. And
I do want to give props to the offensive line that I thought played pretty well, particularly in pass defense or against the in passing situations. Pro Football Focus said that Russell Wilson's average time was like 2.71 seconds. That's an absurd amount of time. Then that's also makes me very hopeful because they're playing with some backups there on the offensive line right now. And that's nice. I think, I think in that game, there is a lot of stuff they can build on. And I know like winning just makes it feel a little more hopeful, but it does feel a little more hopeful. This feels a little more like the Seattle Seahawks that we are used to. Meanwhile, there was another game going on in the NFC West. We had the Cardinals versus the Rams, and the Cardinals coming out of nowhere and just like whooping the Rams all over the place. I mean, Kyler Murray is a dynamo and he was playing out of his mind. And then we had the Matt Stafford, I know like everybody was giving him the MVP award this offseason, but then he goes and does the thing that Matthew Stafford does, which just like inexplicably has like a weird bad game. We know this from Matthew Stafford. What was kind of surprising about that game is that like Aaron Donald was a non-factor. Their defense kind of gave up a bunch of chunk plays and third downs. The Cardinals, who I think a lot of us had just kind of like ignored and given like, the NFC West is the Rams, the Seahawks, and the 49ers, and then there's the Cardinals down here, and now they're undefeated. I don't know, Alana, are the Cards for real? Are the Rams suddenly vulnerable? Like, what are the implications of this game?
So I think what this game proved to me is that the Rams are not as good as we thought they were, and they have some flaws. I don't think it says as much about the Cardinals, because if you'll remember, the Seahawks started out the season last year at 5-0, and then they struggled through the back half of the season. I think the Cardinals started out 6-2 last year, and then didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So anybody can have a hot start. The Bengals are 3-1 with like
right.
Okay, the Raiders are 3-1. So there's a lot of pretenders in there. And I recognize that, the Cardinals are now the only undefeated team in the NFL, which is unbelievable. Don't get me wrong. And Kyler Murray has absolutely been playing like an MVP candidate. But you know who the MVP was after 5 weeks last year?
Yeah, Russell Wilson.
And
actually Murray was in that conversation too.
Right, right. And Russell didn't get a single MVP vote last year.
So did Murray.
Right. So let's pump the brakes just a little bit on the ascension of the Cardinals and recognize that it may be more about some flaws that the Seahawks can exploit when going up against the Rams.
I think I tend to agree with you. There was one thing that I've noticed in some of the Cardinals games this season is that while Kyler Murray is a dynamo and he plays some of that backyard ball that Russell Wilson did really well when he was Kyler Murray's age, there doesn't seem to be an identity on that offense other than like Kyler Murray is just going to like work some magic and then something's going to happen. And I just tend to think that kind of stuff, you just can't sustain it for a full 17 games. But we're going to see. Who knows? I don't know. I think they're suddenly a team that you kind of have to watch out for.
And I mean, we lost the game to them last year. So like, it's not like we're going to come into it and be like, oh, the Rams, the Cardinals, we can beat the shit out of them. It's they're a legit team. Like
they've got some interesting playmakers on that defense too, like Chandler Jones. The guy they drafted a couple years ago from Clemson, that Simmons kid or whoever he is, who plays linebacker and safety. They've got JJ Watt over there now. Like they've got some.
I do want to say
they got Buda Baker over there.
Chandler Jones had 5 sacks in game 1 and hasn't had a sack since.
Yeah.
They do actually really remind me, as you said, of last year's Seahawks. It has that same sort of feel.
It has a little bit of that feel. Yeah, I agree. So you have a Rams team that's suddenly vulnerable. They're going to be coming into Seattle on Thursday. That's on a short week. I tend to think that these Thursday games favor the home team, and they usually favor the team with the momentum. Seattle's got the momentum. Seattle's got the home team. Curtis, what do you think? How can the Seahawks exploit this Rams team?
Oh, they just need to go for it offensively. They need to. It's going to be a shootout. I'm predicting a shootout, but they just need to be aggressive. They need to get that defense on their heels. They need to mix the run with the pass. It sounds like I just looked at like this late updated injury report. Chris Carson did not practice today because of some sort of neck issue. And I really think that Seattle needs to balance leaning into its run game to set up all the play action stuff and just have, Russell do his on script, off script stuff with the run game. So initially I was a little bit going like, ooh, that's not good. But really I started to think more and more about Alex Collins.
Alex Collins has been really dynamic.
And I mean, we watched him all preseason long. We watched him in spurts. And then he was the better running back last Sunday against the 49ers, against the 49er defense.
That's pretty good.
I think is a lot better than the Ram defense.
Yeah.
Like Aaron Donald aside, I'll take the 49er defensive line over, LA's defensive line any day of the week. And Collins was great against that front. I mean, he was just decisive. He was fast to the hole. He was nifty and playmakery. And I just feel like, the key to this game is to really get the running backs going and in the flat in the passing game too, get them going and just have Russell be Russell Wilson, the running threat quarterback with his arm. And I think Seattle is in a good position in a short week to hang some points on a Ram defense that isn't without their defensive coordinator that they had last year. They got a new guy in there who's trying to figure out the personnel, and they've lost a few players on the back end. They don't have the same safeties that they had last year.
Well, and then not only that, the Seahawks bring in Shane Waldron for a bunch of reasons, but one of them, let's be honest, is so that they can hang with the Rams, right? Like the Rams have been the thorn in their paw. Millie, what do you think? Is Waldron, does he have the key to beating the Rams defense?
He might have the key. I think if we can start with a game plan that's executed the way the second half was executed in our last game, it's possible. I am concerned about Chris Carson, and I'm curious to see if this is going to be, Collins' game. Are we going to see some DJ Dallas and see what happens if we start throwing those two in the mix? But I'm not a Swain believer, and I don't like. I'm not a big fan of seeing these plays going to Swain. I noticed Tyler Lockett seems to get more flags than he gets catches at this point. So I am very concerned about this offense. If they can come out swinging, then yeah, it's a shootout and it goes all 4 quarters. But if it's a slow start for the Seahawks, then barring another crazy, what was that, double overtime insanity Rams game, I don't know. It's got to be happening in the first quarter. And that is how that Waldron offense can work against the Rams. Otherwise, they're going to put up too many points against us.
Yeah, well, and if it does, hopefully, it can find some consistency in the second half of the game, which has been the pattern, right? They come out stepping on the gas, they put up a bunch of points, then kind of become a vanilla offense in the second half. And this is something that I wanted to see in the 49ers game as well, is when you have a 2-score lead, instead of, kind of playing the clock and stuff like that, just step on the gas and put the game away. One more score will just ice that game. And I would like to see more of that. I don't know how much of that is Waldron and how much of that is Pete Carroll. But that's something I'd like to see. Going back to your point about Tyler Lockett, Millie, I think some of it has to do with the fact that Tyler Lockett was so good in the first couple of games, so dominant, that a lot of teams are now game planning for Lockett. And this is why we're kind of seeing a breakout of DK Metcalf. And to me, that's a good sign of our offense, because you can't contain both. You got to choose your poison, one or the other. I also think Lockett might be hobbled just a little bit. And so he doesn't have that edge on the speed that maybe he normally would. But I'm not Lockett's going to get his looks. He's going to get his
I think this could be a really good game for him.
I think so too. Well, with that, let's go into predictions. Millie, how did we do last week?
What did we do last week? So last week, Alana and I actually chose the Seahawks to win.
Congratulations.
Yes, we did. And I do want to give a shout out to the Hubs, who said that we were going to win, and we were going to win with dominance, and that it was going to be 28-13, which it was until, one little score that we gave up. But Dan and Curtis, not so much, weren't believers. So
I got burned by that defense.
Yeah.
I'm still not trusting that defense.
I don't trust the defense yet.
I'm not there with them yet.
So Alana and I are up on y'all.
All right.
And, so we need some predictions. And I would want to go to Alana first, because I don't think I heard much from you about how you feel about this game.
Yeah, I think I agree with Curtis that it's going to be a shootout. The problem is that they have Cooper Kupp, and I hate that guy because he burns us every single game.
Yeah.
Burns us for 2 touchdowns. He's going to burn us for 2 touchdowns. I think the Rams are going to win 35-27. I don't want that to happen, but unless we can injure him, which we've done before, then I think that they're going to be fired up about losing to the Cardinals, and they're going to want to win, and they are. And it disappoints me to say, but it's not the end of the world, is the other part. Because we won against the Niners. Yeah. And so we can move forward from here. And we can beat the Steelers the next week.
Oh, I can't wait till we do. Curtis, what's your prediction?
Seahawks going to win a shootout. I'm confident in what they've got cooking on the offense now. And I think the defense made enough improvements where they will they'll hold the dam enough to maybe get a turnover, to maybe force a punt or two. Yeah, I think Seattle's going to win this one 38-34.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that I just like Seattle on a short week in this one.
Millie, predictions.
Curtis, I love your heart. Here's where I'm torn, is that I am a huge believer, and I always tell everyone they're wrong when they don't pick the Seahawks in prime time, because we all know that Russell is prime time, and he doesn't lose in prime time, and they're at home.
Seahawks have never lost wearing action green either.
And I've pointed this like all of the statistics that I throw in everyone's face every year.
Russell Wilson is 9-1 on Thursday nights.
And I can't do it this time.
The best Thursday record.
I can't do it
among quarterbacks.
I can't do it. And if it's my pixie dust that ruins it for everyone, I just apologize in advance. But I've got the Rams winning this and winning it soundly, 33-21.
33. Wow.
You don't have faith. It's all right. I didn't have faith last week.
I know. I'm you last week, Curtis. I'm like, we're gonna get beat soundly. I just don't have the faith, and I want it. So I'm siphoning.
You really think the Rams are? You think they're like Super Bowl destiny, right? Do you think they're like in the?
No, I actually have us. I have us beaten up on them at the end of the day, at the end of the season. But I think for this first half of the season, we're not ready.
Okay.
And I think short rest. It works against them more than us. And I want to believe, I want to be wrong. I want you all to ring a shame bell at me next week.
I'll bring it.
Sweet.
I think the Seahawks are riding their momentum into Thursday. I think everything is just pointing their direction. It's the home team. It's the momentum. We got Russell Wilson, who is crazy with his preparation. I'll take Russell Wilson's short week preparation over Matthew Stafford's any day. I think Russell Wilson is fired up. There was a new kind of like killer instinct in him that I saw against the 49ers. And I think he's unlocked it. Like, this is Russ's day. I think he's going to have a big game. I'm thinking like 4 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns for Russell Wilson. I also think this is going to be a shootout. That's how Thursday games tend to go. I think it's going to be Seahawks 35, Rams 33.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love such a result. I'm going to be drunk in San Francisco watching with 2 of my best friends in a Airbnb in the Castro. So a 35-33, 37-33, whatever.
Yeah.
If Russell throws 4 touchdowns, like, bring it, please.
All right. I can't wait. I can't wait for your drunk texts in the group chat.
They'll be there.
All right.
And I'm gonna be drunk on scotch, so it'll be chatty.
I'm also thinking of it this way. If Seattle pulls this off Thursday night, they're dealing with the Steelers, which feel
that's easy money.
Beatable. They're dealing with the Saints,
also easy,
very beatable.
And then they're dealing with Urban Meyer.
If they get past the Rams Thursday night in this, which I think they will, if they do that, there's a possibility for a 5-game win streak.
Yeah.
Can I just say, Urban Meyer is like, he's like the Mirror Universe Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He's like that dude from Rutgers who moved up to coach the Falcons for a hot second and then ditched mid-season.
Yeah, he's just always embroiled in scandal. There's no integrity.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. He has no hold on that team. Like his players, it doesn't. There was an article that came out from some players who went to these reporters anonymously that Urban Meyer was going position group to position group to apologize for his behavior at that bar where he was like grabbing ass on those young college girls.
Mm-hmm.
And he went into these rooms and he apologized, and when he would leave, the entire room would started laughing, like everybody was just laughing. His team was laughing at him.
They know he's an idiot.
He is an idiot. Here's the thing, by the time the Seahawks get to the Jaguars, let's put this into the predictions. Millie, will Urban Meyer even be coaching by that point?
Oh, that's a good one.
Will he be the first coach fired this season?
So what is your prediction?
It would be right up on it. I think that, here's my prediction. The Seahawks blanket the Jaguars 50-0, and Urban Meyer gets fired the next day. There's my prediction.
When's the Jags bye week? That's the big question, right? They often fire.
Yeah, during the bye week.
Yeah.
That's good. Alana, do you think he will still be the coach when we play them in week 8?
I think give me a second. So they're going, I don't, because their bye week is week 7.
Oh,
so
no.
I think they're going to lose to Tennessee, and then they're going to lose to Miami.
And that's it?
And then Shad's just going to be like out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think, And then the problem is that means they'll have 2 weeks to work on the Seahawks and fail miserably because they fucking suck.
Yeah, they're awful.
I'm going to go with yes, he's still the coach because it's Florida.
Yeah, that's fair.
Curtis,
right.
Is still the coach when we play?
No, it's going to be Brian Schottenheimer head coaching that team. It's going to be so weird.
Nice.
Oh, no.
He's going to have to beat his bestie.
Oh, poor Trevor Lawrence. Poor guy. He's wishing he was Mac Jones right now. So, things are all glory and roses with the Seahawks, but there's another team in Seattle that had a tragic end. That was our Seattle Mariners. Lost their last game of the season. And even though they were that close to making the playoffs for the first time in 20 years, they narrowly missed it. So sad. But this is a young team. They have momentum. They're mostly going to be on the roster for next season. It looks like the future may be bright. That said, I thought this was a really fun Mariners season. I haven't had this much fun in a Mariners season since, that 2001 team 20 years ago. And there are a lot of really cool, really fun players on this team, very young players that gets me really excited. I think there's a culture now on that team that we haven't seen in 20 years. Cervea seems to really, really love this team, and I think that team really loves him.
Service. His name is Service.
I keep saying it wrong. I know. But this team seems to love each other. Like they're playing for each other, which, we haven't seen on the Mariners in quite a while. But I don't know. I thought this was a really great season. Millie, what do you think? What were your favorite parts of this Mariners season?
For me, it was the first season in a long time where I started to know every player's name. I had something that I knew and liked about every player. I think, in our group chat, I was telling you all, every time he comes up to bat, I say, it's Louis Torrance. He's going to hit the ball. And it just makes me happy to do that. I used to sit in the stadium back in the day, and I would announce the players, much to the delight or annoyance of all the people sitting around me in whatever way I wanted to announce them. I love to announce player names when they come up to bat in my home.
Yeah.
And I had Chance, I had Toro, and Ty France. And I just fell in love with so many of these players. And that is how I fell in love with a baseball team. So it was really fun for me to feel that way again. I'm excited for Gilbert. I'm excited for this young team. And that send off at the end of the game. I'm getting a little sad just remembering how things went on Sunday. I did want to let you all know that you were all right. By the way, you all said that they would not make the playoffs. They would not make the wild card. Except for Dan, who refused to commit. Dan wouldn't commit either way, but he did, along with both Curtis and Alana, say that it would be the New York Yankees in the wild card. And you were all right. And they all were just soundly beat by the Red Sox. So see ya, Yanks.
Yeah.
But really, like, is it any better that the Red Sox move on? Go Rays.
Not really.
Honestly, no.
Fuck the Red Sox.
Yeah, I know. I have to say that last game, when they called Seager off the field and he got to have his moment and he tipped the hat to the crowd and the waterworks started flowing on Seager. And then he was giving hugs to all the young players and these new leaders on the team. And they're crying because like Seager had really become the leader, the vet on that team that they really got behind. And here he is during this game, like literally like passing the torch onto this team. He knows he's not going to be back next year, and he's giving them the keys to the next 10 years of the Mariners. I thought it was really touching. I thought that the symbolism there was just like so great. And then the audience just giving him that send off as well. I got choked up. The Kyle Seager chants that had started when he was walking off the third base. And it was, I thought it was really powerful. And I think that's the kind of just X factor energy that can carry a young team like this into next season and hopefully be a contender. What do you think, Curtis? I think, are you going to be watching next season? Are you having fun?
I'm going to watch next season. I'm in. I'll be following. They're going to have the work cut out.
I just also, by the way, I just love that the Mariners co-opted the Ted Lasso,
Well, this is what I was going to get to. Like this season ended completely like season 1 Ted Lasso. Completely.
Yes.
I mean, Kyle Seager, Roy
Kent. Yeah.
I mean, the crowd was chanting the Roy Kent thing, the Seager send off, the heartbreak loss when we thought that like we were on the cusp of playoffs.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen. The momentum's everything. It's very, very, very Ted Lasso. I mean, I've been watching Ted Lasso for the last couple seasons, watching this guy thinking like, God, somebody must have shadowed Pete Carroll to come up with this character. But really, I kind of feel like, Service has got a Ted Lasso thing that is undeniable, and they got their work cut out next year. They got to figure out what third base is about. They got to get, obviously, if they're not bringing Seager back, which I still am sort of wrapping my head as to why that's not happening, and then they have to upgrade that. There has to be a better player coming into that roster than Seager. It's got to.
Well, they've only got
that's going to be a pressure situation. What's that?
They've only got a payroll right now of $40 million, so they could spend $90 million and be at league average. So like,
right.
They are all in, and
they're shoppers.
They're shoppers. They're hardcore shoppers.
Yeah.
They're going to bring in some good. They're going to bring in some talent. They're going to bring in an arm or two. They
need them. They need pitching.
Yeah,
Defense,
and they're going to bring up
championships.
Totally, and they're going to bring up Julio Rodriguez, and they're going to bring up God, what's his name?
Mm-hmm.
Emerson, I can't remember his last name, and then George Kirby. And like they're gonna be
They're gonna go
good.
young again.
Yeah, they're gonna be real young. They're gonna bring over some good talent. They're going to the playoffs next year. I have a strong confidence in that.
I really think so too, and I can't wait.
The Angels will have Trout back. That'll be a little bit tougher again.
Yeah.
You know, and the Blue Jays, I think they've got a pretty young roster of talent that's coming up through that system too. Like there's gonna be competition, but yeah, I think the Mariners are gonna be in a strong position for playoffs next year.
Yeah.
Emerson Hancock, it'll be fun. That's his name.
Well, you know, usually we go into a segment where we dork out about some stuff. But Alana, you went to a Mariners game this week, and you had an experience, and that we want to lend voice to. I think we can all agree here on Dorks on Sports, we can be fun with our dorking out moments, but I think we can also be a little more serious and a little more political. That said, Alana, I would like to give you the room to share your story.
Thank you. So we went to the Friday night game against the Angels, and I went with my family. And the people in front of us were not wearing masks, and we asked them to wear masks. And so,
which is a mandate here in King County.
Which is a mandate, and so they immediately called me a bitch and called me a narc, and were trying to get in my face about why do you even care? It's like, because I'm here with my family. And I eventually called the people who work there on them, and they were like freaking out about that. And they were doing whatever they could to keep food in front of their face so it looked like they were eating until they stopped and nobody cared anymore. But it was like just this whole like, oh, you're a white dude and no one's asked you to say no, or no one's ever told you no before. So like you think you can act however the fuck you want because no one's ever told you no. But like that was just the thing that kind of set the evening off. And so I was leaving the stadium, and I had to, my partner had gone home with my kid. And so I was walking back to the car so that I could drive it back to the stadium and pick up my father-in-law and my brother-in-law who have father-in-law has mobility issues. And so I'm walking back to the car, and some random jagoff behind me said, good luck walking alone, you tranny. And I don't even know how to respond to that because this person was behind me, and I turn around and look at him and go, what? At the exact same time that his partner with him said, what? And so it was like, ugh. And then later, after I got to my car, I was turning down the street, and somebody shouted from the street corner, based on how I had driven, good driving, tranny. And like, so like the first person was like obviously targeted at me, and the second person was probably just some random person using a phrase that they thought was meant to be an insult. Okay, so like I'm trans. That's not a story, it's who I am. And what's frustrating to me overall is that here we are in this moment of fandom, this moment of beauty, where we're sharing this experience about the Mariners and how the Mariners might actually make the playoffs. And it was a great game. They didn't do it. They lost. People were upset. But that shouldn't mean that I have my right to humanity questioned. That shouldn't mean that I'm reduced to purely a portion of my identity, thereby an object, by being called tranny, which is a slur. If you're not trans, you cannot use that word. And it got me thinking about like the opportunity. Like I think that this is something that needs to be explained to cisgender people, which is somebody who identifies as the sex they were assigned at birth, which is that when you're trans, which is not a choice, the opportunity cost of being trans is immense. I cannot live in like 75 to 85% of this country And when I talk about it more specifically, there are only really like 7 cities that I could live in and be confident that I was going to be safe and not questioned about my identity in any place that I went to. I can't live in my home state because there are policies that are being enacted against me, because there are people who would question my identity in any space I would go into. And there is the possibility that in the future, I would not be able to use the restroom in public that I identify with needing to use. And so I choose to live in Seattle. I choose to live here because it is a safe place for me and my family. And it is a place that in general respects the identity that I carry with me, but doesn't only see me as that identity.
Mhm.
And so when I encounter a bunch of these fans who are so fucking entitled as to think that the Mariners losing means that they can strip the humanity out of somebody else who exists, it's baffling to me. I don't interact with sports in that way. And and I don't understand it. I cannot conceptualize of it. And I'm trying to, because that's what you do for other people, is you try and put yourself in the experiences that they have. And you try to identify that, you know what, maybe this person who is trans, who I can visually identify as trans, is having a day. And maybe what I can do is interact with them as a human being, as opposed to just some object that I'm coming across that I want to kick because the Mariners lost the game. Like, it's not that important. You are not entitled to a victory, and you cannot be an asshole just because somebody else exists. And it just gets to me. And like the other thing, this is a little quick. I'm thinking about why we come to sports and why we are involved with the Mariners, with the Seahawks, with the Kraken, with all of these things. And I think a big part of it for all of us, because I know us from theater, is we're there because of the community, right? We're there because when we see another fan who has a number 3 jersey on, we're like, yeah, Russell Wilson. Or I see somebody with a 16 jersey on, and I'm like, Tyler Lockett, or an 81, and I'm like, Doug Baldwin. It's that fandom, that connection, that community that we go to. And when I think about community, I think about the fact that I don't have a single friend who is also trans, a parent, in a stable relationship, and with a job. I don't know anybody who is in that specific bracket. And so when we're talking about opportunity cost, I turn to sports because I'm looking for community, because I'm looking for the ability to connect with other people, because I don't have that in a portion of my identity that I desperately need.
Yeah.
And when I have these fucking jagoffs telling me that I don't have the right to be a human on the street of Seattle, and one of the only places that I can choose to live, to feel safe, to feel whole, and to feel a part of this world, what am I supposed to do? I don't have anywhere else to go. So like, if you are the type of person who gets upset at a Mariners game when they lose, don't fucking go, because you're going to be an asshole to someone like me who is impacted by the words that you say. If you can't control yourself to the point where you can't keep from saying something that is like disgusting. And I mean, like, why would you ruin that for me? Why would you ruin? This was my kid's first baseball game. And, you know, she doesn't care that much, but she enjoyed herself. And that was awesome. And so, like, why are you taking away that experience from me? And why would you not think that that's something that you have the power to do? Right? So, like, my main thing is recognize that when we go to these events, we're there together, and we are there to be together. So, like, have some empathy for the other people in the space and work with them so that they can be a part of it too.
Yeah. And you know, like, if you're not comfortable with the fact that there are trans people as part of your community, or gay people, or people of color as part of your sports community, you can't kick them out. It's on you to get the fuck out.
Right.
So get the fuck out and put on your mask. There's a pandemic going on.
Right.
Yeah.
Your discomfort with wearing a mask is not greater than my desire to live.
Right. Well, it doesn't mean anything, but I'm very sorry you had that experience. I don't know what that feels like, being a person who like checks off all the privilege boxes in my life. But I'm also an empathetic human, and I appeal to the empathy of the world around me.
And I do want to say really quickly, like that, I posted about this on Facebook, and I heard from all three of you almost immediately, like, hey, do you want to say something about this on the show? And like, for me, this is whatever size of platform this is, we have a platform, and we've created a platform for ourselves. And all three of you very graciously have said, take that platform and say what you need to say. And to me, that's a great demonstration of allyship, and I really appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you, Alana.
too.
We
Yeah.
love you so much, and that's why we invited you into this thing. And anybody listening to this that is feeling the same way, we love you as well. And this is a safe space, and you can find a community here in this podcast. Before we sign off here, I just want to, I really wanted to talk about Ted Lasso, this last episode of Ted Lasso. And we're going to hold off on that because the last season is the last episode of this season is this Friday. And I'm just going to, we're going to be talking a lot of Ted Lasso in next week's podcast.
Millie, you gotta get caught up.
You gotta catch up, Millie.
Devin, we have to watch the rest of Ted Lasso.
There you go. You have to. It's part of your job.
You're gonna love it.
Yeah, you're gonna love it. All right. This was really fun, and we love all of you. We're gonna see you next week. Hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening to this. We're on YouTube. We're on all the places you can find your podcast, Apple, Spotify, and all that good stuff. Find Curtis on his blog 12th Life. Once more, my name is Daniel. For Alana, Curtis, Millie, and the rest of the 12s, saying goodbye, and go Hawks!
Go Hawks!
Go Hawks!
Go Hawks.